Chapter 5. In Her Shoes. Do you ever wonder what kinds of shoes you will be wearing when you die? Will they be cute, sexy with an ankle strap, or a long, sexy boot? Or will they be those comfy workout tennis shoes? It's funny the things you consider. I don't think we ever think about the little things. On the day I died, I opted for comfy. I was wearing house shoes, those soft, furry ones that you slip into and your feet are welcomed on a plush cloud. It's funny the things you will miss, the insignificant things. But those comfy house shoes, yes, I will miss that simple pleasure. I wanted to be cozy that night. I wasn't going out, so no need for my sexy, strappy heels. I just wanted to curl up and eat my macaroni and cheese with broccoli and watch some action star save the day. I remember thinking I was happy. I'd called my mom that day. I could still hear her laugh as the pain in my head began to spread throughout my body. I remember feeling sad. Not sad at the obvious, but sad that I was dying alone. Well, figuratively. It was Saturday night, my favorite night, doing my favorite thing, eating my favorite food. A good night despite the events. I remember laying on my sofa and feeling as safe and as whole as I had ever felt. It's funny how alive you feel on the day you die. It's almost ominous. I remember feeling somewhere between sleep and awake when it happened. I suddenly felt a pain in my chest. I couldn't breathe and the pain was becoming unbearable. My eyes flew open and I saw a man in a mask. His cold hand was wrapped around my throat. It's funny, but the cold seemed to bother me more than anything. Could he not have warmed his hands before choking me? It's funny the things you consider. I was suddenly lifted in the air and thrown across the room. I landed near my television and slammed my head on the corner of the television stand. Blinding pain. I remember thinking it was a shame I wouldn't get to see the end of the movie I was watching. I was disoriented and the pain was excruciating. I felt dizzy and sick. I just wanted to sleep. I couldn't really lift my head, as the effort cost too much in pain. So I sat there, head slumped, wondering comically if some action star would soon rescue me. And then I noticed another pair of shoes. Not sexy strappy or comfy, but strong and black. Combat boots. The kinds of shoes you wear when you have the intention of hurting someone. It's interesting the things you consider. I remember thinking I was going to miss the next superhero film. I couldn't believe I wouldn't get to see the future Superman. As I lay there, I must have dozed off because the next thing I remembered was a putrid smell. It's funny, but the smell seemed to wake me. Then I felt it. White-hot pain flooded my senses. My mouth was hot. My hands were burning. I could barely focus, but what I could see told me that I was not on fire. What I was experiencing was much worse. I noticed a jar sitting on the table, and the liquid inside told me exactly what was happening. My skin was falling off in chunks, and my left eye was melting down the side of my left cheek. I noticed the shoes were nearby, watching as I melted into a puddle of cooked flesh like the Wicked Witch of the West. It is interesting what your mind notices and doesn't notice. For instance, I didn't notice the man had taken his mask off. I didn't notice how familiar he was. I didn't notice that cedar and musk scent in the air that always lingered for several moments, even after he left my cubicle. I didn't notice that strange chant he was saying over and over like a prayer. Your beauty is a sin. Your beauty is a sin. You have tormented me, and I must free myself of you forever. It's funny that I didn't notice the scent at the time. I always hated that smell. Cedar and musk. I wasn't very outdoorsy, so woodsy smells were not to my liking. For a time, I couldn't remember all of the events of that night. I wandered in a state of confusion, not understanding that my time on this side was over. I wandered and felt the pain of the flashes and the anguish of that night. After a time, when watching the suffering of my family became too much to bear, I found myself seeking solace in friends from work, watching their lives move forward while mine was frozen forever. I saw them walking around in their pretty colors, wearing nice dresses, makeup, and, of course, fashionable shoes. When one day I noticed a specific pair of shoes, not shoes normally worn to work, but black, strong shoes, combat boots. The kind you wear when you have the intention of hurting someone. So I began to follow him. This man likes to watch a lot of violent pornographic films. He enjoys eating pizza and masturbating to his naughty videos. His room smells of cedar and musk. I began to whisper to him at night. He thought it was bad dreams. I remembered the dream I had the night I died. I was standing on a beach watching the water ripple and the sun rise. It was a beautiful dream. It's funny the things you remember. The man begins to have bad dreams every night. He dreams of maggots crawling beneath his skin and being eaten alive by rats. He is coming to work disheveled. I remember thinking how much I missed my job and my friends. I began to show myself to the man, just as I looked on the night I died. Just as I looked. First in the mirrors, my reflection glows as he brushes his teeth at night. Then in his computer screen at work. Then in the glasses of a colleague. The man is sent on leave as he is unable to perform his duties. He is sent to therapy, but he does not go. Who would believe him? And he knows he cannot say why. I begin to hurt him. I burn him with boiling water as he makes himself some rice, scalding his arm in third-degree burns. I slice his wrist with a knife as he cuts an apple. He is in the hospital for a short stay, but the doctors think he should stay for a psychological evaluation. And it is here he has remained. I noticed all the comfy white shoes of the nurses and doctors at the facility, and thought this was a nice place to play with my man. I entered his mind then. I made him feel what I felt as I lay dying, afraid, helpless, burning from the inside out. I let him feel the acid on his skin as if it were being poured onto him as it was poured onto me. We play together every day and every night now. He never has a relaxing day's rest nor a night's peaceful slumber. I could move on if I wanted to, but why bother? After all, we are now tied together forever, like a cozy pair of shoes.